Something has dramatically changed about the way leading endocrinologists treat type 2 diabetes. For the last 30 years, leading endocrinologists would first treat type 2 diabetes with lifestyle changes, followed by Metformin. After Metformin, there would be other medications. However, this has radically changed. The reason this has changed is because it used to be that the leading reason to control type 2 diabetes was to control blood sugar, primarily your hemoglobin A1C, or your A1C score was the most significant score to look at. Leading endocrinologists would realize that if your A1C was 7.0 or higher, they would recommend Metformin. However, things have changed because there has been leading research that has come about over the last several years. The first research talked about cardiology and GLP-1s and type 2 diabetes. And the results of those research studies suggest that not only does your A1C have significant changes by taking medication, but your ability to prevent heart disease can also be significantly changed by taking the right medications. And those medications are GLP-1s, which are now Ozempic. Actually, many years ago, more than 5 years ago, I was in one of the first trials for what preceded Ozempic. It was called Byetta. I was in a trial where there was a study for GLP-1 called Byetta, and I would take that once a day. And that study allowed me to provide, and the study was to suggest whether or not Byetta would allow not only reduction in A1C levels of blood sugar, but also if it would improve heart disease. I was in that study, and the result of that study was very significant. And as a result of that study, there was significant changes in the way endocrinologists treat type 2 diabetes. And they not only consider your hemoglobin A1C, but they also treat cardiovascular disease or the potential of cardiovascular disease. There was another study after that also dealt with GLP-1s. Studies like that checked out Ozempic, which is a medication that I take now, which is well known these days. And that study also showed very significant improvement in cardiovascular disease by taking Ozempic if someone has type 2 diabetes. So those two studies suggest that people who have type 2 diabetes, it's important for them to look at their potential improvement in low blood sugar or high blood sugar, hemoglobin A1C, and also potential heart disease. So those two studies were very significant in the way that was treated. Then there was another study that came up that deals with SGLT2s or kidney disease. Farxiga and Jardiance are these medications. And the first drug that was checked was Jardiance. And these drugs significantly showed significant improvements in cardiovascular and kidney disease by using the drug Jardiance. And eventually there were similar medications used by that dealt with the same medications, Farxiga and Jardiance, resulting in the use of Farxiga and Jardiance to help kidney disease and cardiovascular disease. I want to make it clear that I am not an endocrinologist, I'm not even a doctor. I am someone who's had type diabetes for 39 years. I'm 76 years old, and I know how to deal with type 2 diabetes from experience and from dealing with endocrinologists and physicians. I do take both an SGLT2 and I take Ozempic. There was a time when I took another medication instead of Ozempic when Ozempic was hard to get. So I want to encourage you to check with your endocrinologist to see if you should be taking Ozempic and or an SGLT2 like Jardiance or Farxiga instead of just Metformin. These are important and significant changes in the way type 2 diabetes are treated. Of course, this does not change the fact that the most important change you need to make is lifestyle changes. Diet, exercise, better sleep, and many more, which we go over in our programs. So I wanted to encourage you to go over this with your endocrinologist, see if you should be taking an SGLT2 like Farxiga or Jardiance, and see if you should be taking a GLP-1 like Wegovy or Ozempic or another one. These are important changes that you need to make if you haven't made them already. Thank you and have a great day.